Are you having difficulty with Shadow of the Erdtree?
Maybe you should get good.
Or just use the tools that are available to you in the game. Let's talk about it. Tam, some things are certain. The sun will rise in the east, set in the west, and every time a FromSoftware game comes out, difficulty discourse will begin.
Yes, it will.
The DLC, the expansion, Shadow of the Erdtree dropped, and glowing reviews, 10 out of 10 from you.
Yep.
And numerous other outlets came out, and then people started to realize, oh, this is actually difficult. Now we're in the middle of a big discourse. The game is getting...
The gamers are saying it's too hard.
It got mixed reviews on Steam, and now there's a patch.
I tweeted, the get gooders have become the get goodies.
That is actually very, that's very good.
Yeah, so I mean, like, the traditional precedent is the toxic gamers have always been like, if you suck at this, why don't you get good? And it's not it's a very vocal minority, but it's a very annoying vocal minority. And it seems like the turns have tabled, because if you go to like Steam and various other complaint venues, people are talking about how it's too hard for them. As someone who enjoys the back and forth about game difficulty, when it's done from a good faith perspective instead of a I'm gonna demean other people who can't deal with this difficulty. It seems like Shadow of the Erdtree has become the great leveler, where everyone is now struggling to some degree or another. Notably,
I think only one really review who called it out for its difficulty, and then there was the Nexus mod thing where it was like, oh, there's journalist mode where everything gives you half as much damage.
Journalist mode is over. The get good meme is dead.
Yeah.
I am officially calling it. Journalist mode as a you suck at games is over. It's dead. The mark or the benchmark for that was the infamous Cuphead moment, where one single journalist struggled with it and all of us got tarred with the don't know how to play games. Now that everyone is struggling,
the playing field
is level. Journalist mode can't exist. I'm a journalist, technically. The boss that you're all struggling with took me 3 tries. It was admittedly, it requires a combination of getting slightly lucky, years of like honing my ability to play these games, also like fighting game history, and it all just came together in a way that allowed me to beat that game pretty easily.
So I think what's interesting to me is that like you said, there is that mindset of people where they're like, oh, if you don't complete Dark Souls SL1, you can't say that you completed Dark Souls. And it kind of all goes back to, yes, it is challenging, but the game, maybe with the exception of Sekiro, will give you tools in which to overcome that. And I don't think, I think out of all of them, Elden Ring is the one that gives you the most. Like, it gives you summons, it gives you Spirit Ashes. So people saying that it's too difficult, but they're like, oh, can't summon. No summon.
Yeah,
and then Hidetaka Miyazaki came out and said that he summoned and that he sucks at games.
Our Lord and Savior said he uses the tools that he put in the game with his team. So the issue that is happening is people are going into that DLC thinking that they are the Elden Lord and thus everything must bow before them, and they ignore the fact that there is a system in there that is designed to help you improve your ability to deal damage and withstand damage. It requires you to explore and find those elements, which is a lot of people hate it. I think it's very smart because it reinforces one of the fundamentals of Elden Ring, which is still new to FromSoftware's design, which is exploration.
Yeah.
That's not something that they have traditionally had. So in order to help yourself in terms of difficulty and give you a fighting chance, you need to do the thing that they want you to do, which is explore, find the Scadutree fragments, and grow as a character. People are coming in there and trying to like throw themselves at bosses. In the original Elden Ring, you came out, there's a lad on the horse, he's gonna kick your ass and remind you that not everything is there to be fought immediately. People seemingly forgot that lesson. They threw themselves at the dancing lion and were getting their ass kicked, and then proceeded to keep getting their ass kicked by everything, including the random wandering mobs in just the Shadowlands. They are difficult as well.
I will say the fire boys can absolutely
chuck a heavy fire pot at them, you'll be fine.
What? We played it a preview, played for 3 hours, kicked our asses, and then I went back and instead of just following the golden path, I explored, got a bunch of Scadutree stuff, and I beat the lion pretty easily. I beat Rolana second try, baby.
Yeah, there you go. Like that is the ideal experience that they want. The issue around difficulty there then becomes the discourse is the goalposts are constantly moved. People will say it's difficult, but they also, like you said, you can't use summon ashes, you can't summon NPC characters, etc., etc. It's like you are needlessly making it more difficult for yourself at a time when you should be trying to have the ideal experience for the first time through.
I do agree with some criticisms on the difficulty, where it's like, certainly as soon as you go into boss arenas now, even if you try and summon, you just get smacked in the face.
Yeah.
Like, a lot.
Yeah, the bosses are very aggressive. Yeah, a lot of the bosses will telegraph if they're gonna attack you straight. There's certain ones that will, if you step through the fog gate and don't move, they won't move either. Like Gaius is one of those, I believe, who will just be like, what are you doing over there? Anything cool? And he'll let you summon. So like moving of goalposts is very frustrating to me, because it means that you'll never be able to have an experience that people say like, good job, you did it. But ultimately, external validation for these games is unimportant. It's what do you do to make it happen for yourself. And I believe there's no cheesing these games. Like there is definitely cheesing.
Oh, there's cheesing.
But if you figure it out,
you didn't see my Genichiro run.
Yeah.
He was behind that door.
The first time through, do what you got to do to win and beat the game. The other repeated times is where you start having fun with it, doing like soul level 1 or whatever it may be. Or like
Bushy's already doing
Bushy's doing it. Yeah, everyone's doing
one shot in bosses already.
Everyone figured out now finally that the perfumer approach is insane. And now they're using that. If you're playing this for the first time, you should take every tool that is given to you and use it
and experiment. I would say, in terms of going from base game where you are just picking over everything to try and find smithing stones, Erdtree is like, please take my smithing stones, have them all. They
want you to get new weapons, upgrade them as quickly as possible, and also upgrade all the weapons and put that to effect. A lot of these bosses are much easier when you do things like use buffs before you enter the arena. Like use your physic, use your items to improve like your damage negation, or give yourself like a elemental negation, and also power increase, that kind of stuff. It makes it very much more achievable when you use what's given to you.
It's also it's like a mastery of the things that you should have been using in Elden Ring.
Yeah, exactly. And everyone is like, oh, use Mimic Tear, use Mimic Tear. Mimic Tear doesn't trivialize bosses. Mimic Tear is good at drawing aggro. That's perfectly fine. That's a very valid way to approach it.
My Mimic Tear has a completely different loadout than I have usually. Yeah. And my Mimic Tear specializes in healing and status effects. Yeah. Then I go in, start blasting with my... Yeah. I've got dual axes now, having a great time.
Perfect. Ultimately, like, it is a game about learning, and a Mimic Tear gives you a one-up in learning. Like, I've never seen a Mimic Tear walk in and do all the work.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen that way.
No.
Usually, like, in various runs where I use a Mimic Tear gets his ass kicked immediately, and I'm just like, you suck, why are you doing this?
Yeah. I use Mimic Tear to take aggro if I need to desperately heal. I'll just stop attacking, run away, wait for Mimic Tear to get aggro.
Yeah, especially in base game Elden Ring, the thing I did most with Mimic Tear was just use him as a way to observe. Like, I would send him out after I would like approach an enemy or a boss, and I'd watch how that boss behaves and be like, oh, I'm figuring out this attack, that attack. But use what you got to, available to you. And I think the discourse around it's too hard, and then saying, oh, you can't do this, and this is nonsensical. It is stupid. If there was going to be a purist about how to play these games, I would be one of them. Like, you'd think I would be out there being like, no, these games have to be played in this certain way. And I've said this before, and I still get shit for it. I still see comments about it. I think that the barrier to entry should be lower for people in the way that FromSoftware wants, which is introducing these tools, because I don't think simply defeating enemies and bosses is the complete value of FromSoftware's games. Yeah. For me, when you play those games, I want everyone from all walks of life to be able to play them, because then you'll find people who appreciate the story. And they might not be good at video games, but then they might have a really interesting understanding of the lore, and they will go out there and make a video. If Or someone who's a fantastic artist might do a crazy good, fan art of a boss or an enemy, or someone who's good at remixing music, for example, might hear a tune deep into the game and be like, oh, this is really cool. Those are the people who give the community life going forward. And if they're able to get further in the game and experience more of the game, the chances are they're going to be able to work with a lot more in making things of their own. And I think that's a fantastic way. I feel like it's a more complete appreciation of what FromSoftware does.
We won't be back next week because it is the 4th of July here in America. As you can tell by our British accents. I'm actually going to the county fair. Very American pastime. But we will be back the week after with more goings on. And yeah, also we've been away because we were at Summer Game Fest and traveling, so it's nice to be back on a regular schedule. So we'll see you then. Have fun, Tarnished.